Hello, dears. How are you? How's everything? I hope that all of you are okay. Before we start our new lesson for today, I just want to tell you be safe, take care of yourselves, stay home, and everything will be okay, inshallah. قبل ما أبلش بدرس اليوم حابة أحكي لكم إنه يا ريت ندير بالنا ونتبع إرشادات السلامة العامة وkeep space between you and others ونضل بالبيت وننتبه كويس على صحتنا وإن شاء الله جميعكم بتكونوا بألف خير وصحة وسلامة. Today we are going to start a new kind of lesson or a new kind of experience or an adventure. Do you remember when we talked in first unit about time travel phones and we said this is an adventure? So today we're going to talk about something new, a new adventure, but we call it a personal recount, okay? اليوم احنا رح نحكي عن مغامرة جديدة بس مغامرتنا إلها اسم مختلف بنسميه personal recount. Personal recount. Okay, let me first show you what is our unit title. What is the title of our unit? Or what is our unit title? The title is In the Mountains. Okay, what do you mean by the word mountains? What do you mean by the word mountains? معناها جبال. Okay, إذا عنا هون the word mountains جبال. So our adventure or the new adventure that we are going to read about is in the mountain. Wow, it's gonna be a great story. Okay, so احنا الادفنتشر المغامرة الجديدة اللي بدنا نحكي عنها يا حلوين اللي هي in the mountains في الجبال. Okay, so we are going to read about Susan's adventure. So who's the main character in this adventure? Who's the main character in this adventure? A girl called Susan. Susan is going to tell us about her adventure in the mountain. Okay, in the mountains. إذا إحنا عنا character هون الشخصية أو الراوي narrator who's going to tell us what happened with her. إذا عنا هون راوية الستوري أو القصة أو personal recount اللي هو إحنا لما بنقول personal يعني شخصي والrecount بمعنى السرد when you want to tell someone about something that happened with you and you are going to be the narrator of this. يعني لما أنا بدي أحكي عن إشي or write something that happened to me and I will be the narrator. يعني أنا بدي أكون راوي الإشي اللي صار معي وراح أحكي هلأ أكتر عن personal recount. But first let's continue talking about the most important things in our lesson. خلينا نحكي شوي عن الأشياء المهمة lesson. Look at this or these pictures. Please take a look at these pictures. I know it's black and white but I tried my best. Thanks for teacher Riyad Aslan who gave us this material in order to use it for explanation. So in this lesson we are going to read about Susan's adventure in the mountains. We are going to read about her adventure in the mountains. So we are going to read about Susan's adventure. Okay, let's see now or let's take a look about these pictures. In the first picture you can see who? We can see Susan. Okay, Susan is the person or the writer of this adventure. إذن Susan هي الرايتر اللي رح تحكي لنا عن إيش؟ عن الستوري. إذن خلينا نيجي شوي للكلمات اللي أنا حكيت لك إياها. adventure شو معنى كلمة adventure؟ معناها مغامرة. adventure مغامرة. in the mountains قلنا بالبداية mountains معناها جبال. it is a personal recount. what do you mean by personal recount؟ اللي هو بنسميه السرد الشخصي. وشو يعني سرد شخصي in English? if I want to define it, when someone writes something or tells something about himself and he's the narrator of this story or he's the narrator of this event. يعني بيكون هو راوي هذا الشيء حصل معه هو بيروي الأحداث اللي صارت معه. So the writer here is Susan. ونعرف كلمة writer this is noun ومعناها اللي هي الكاتب. إذا الرايتر هي سوزان واللي هي الكاتب. She writes about the people she went with them. So what kind of things Susan is going to write about, or what kind of things did Susan write about, or does Susan write about? So we have different kind of questions. I can ask you what kind of people or what kind of things does Susan write about. يعني شو الأشياء اللي كتبت عنها Susan. And what did Susan write about? وماذا كتبت Susan? After reading this, I may ask you by using past simple. If you remember past simple, يعني بقدر أسألك بالpast simple بعد ما نخلصها. لكن هلأ خلينا نحكي. What does she write about? She writes about the people she went with. إذن هي رح تكتب عن الناس اللي راحوا معاها. People who went with. الناس اللي راحوا معها. Let's see who did go with Susan. Who did go with Susan? مين اللي راح مع Susan? First كان عندها Fred, her twin brother. Fred اللي هو أخو Susan إيش؟ التوأم. Twin معناها توأم. توأم. إذا twin brother أخوها التوأم. She's a twins. Okay? They are twins. إذا هم توأم. Mom اللي هي إمها وداد اللي هو الfather أو والدها. Okay. She also writes about the things and places she saw. إذا هي شو رح تكتب لنا كمان عن الناس اللي راحوا معها غير الناس اللي راحوا معها عن things اللي هي الأشياء والplaces الأماكن. إذا هي رح تكتب عن الأشياء والأماكن she saw اللي شافتهم أو رأتهم. أوكي؟ إذا بدنا نحكي باللغة العربية فبنحكي الأشياء والأماكن التي رأت. أوكي. So here are the pictures, but these are really small pictures. هاي الصور كتير صغيرة للأشياء اللي شافتها. So I decided to show you these places or these things in clear pictures. حبيت أورجيكم إياها بالصور رح نشوفها كمان شوي مع بعض. Waterfall, cave, cliff, peak, ravine, glacier or glacier. Glacier or glacier. Okay, we can pronounce this word as two pronounce or two sounds. بنقدر نحكيها بطريقتين. Glacier and glacier. One is British, one is American. Okay, let's start. The waterfall. All these words should be written in your notebook. كل هاي الwords اللي هلأ رح أشرحها أنا ورح أحكي معانيها بالعربي مع الwords اللي شرحتها فوق نكتبها على دفترنا بس نرجع نحضر الفيديو كمان مرة. waterfall اللي هو طبعا مثل ما احنا شايفين بالصورة اللي هو الشلال. cave اللي هو الكهف. وcliff منحدر. اوكي. peak اللي هي الtop or the summit, the top of the mountain or the summit of the mountain اللي هو قمة الجبل. raven يا مس اللي هو اللي بيجي زي الوادي ما بين الوادي. نهر بيجي ما بين الوادي يعني بيكون في هون side and here is another side. هلأ رح تشوفوها بالصورة اللي هو بنسميه وادي. glacier or glacier اللي هو نهر متجمد. glacier in British بنحكيها glacier و glacier in American we pronounce it as glacier. Okay, so again let's repeat the word. Here we have mountains. mountains يعني جبال. adventure مغامرة. okay. وبعدين حكينا personal recount معناها سرد شخصي. writer حكينا معناها كاتب. بعدين قلنا people اللي هم أناس. اوكي. وبعدين قلنا twin. شو معنى twin؟ قلنا توأم. things اللي هي الأشياء والplaces أماكن. so رأت. عندنا الwaterfall اللي هو الشلال. الكيف اللي هو الكهف. الكليف المنحدر. البيك اللي هي قمة الجبل. والريفن اللي هو الوادي. والجليسر أو glacier اللي هو النهر المتجمد. Let's take a look about these pictures. Look here. What do we call this? We call it cliff. This is the cliff. Can you see? It's steepy, or sometimes it could be very high. So you should be careful if you go there. إذا رحنا على هيك منطقة أو هيك مكان، هذا بنسميه cliff، منحدر. So لازم نكون إحنا حذرين جدا. وأحيانا المنحدرات بتكون موجودة على الجبال. أكتر الوقت المنحدر بيكون موجود على الجبل. Okay. What do we call this? This is glacier. A glacier or a glacier. Okay. So this is هذا هو الجليسر or the glacier اللي هو النهر المتجمد. طبعا هو بيكون نهر بيتجمد بنسميه a glacier. Okay. This is another picture for it. مثل هاد بيكون or like this. Okay, so what do we call this? This is a cave. This is a cave. إذا شو بنسمي هذا؟ بنسميه cave. This is from outside and mostly we have different kind of caves. طبعا احنا عنا عدة أنواع من الكهوف. cave يعني كهف. هسا caves معناها كهوف. طيب do we have only caves in the mountains? Yes, we have another kind of caves. We can find caves under rivers, under sea, oceans, whatever, seas and oceans. إذا إحنا ممكن نشوف كمان كهوف تحت البحر، تحت البحار، تحت المحيطات، تحت الأنهار، وهي بنسميها الكيفز، بتكون موجودة تحت المياه. So as I told you, we have different kinds of caves. Okay. إذا عنا أنواع مختلفة من الكهوف، ومن ضمنها طبعا الكهف اللي بيكون بالطريقة هاي مثل ما انتم شايفين as you can see in the picture. And we have also, as I told you, caves underwater زي اللي هو oceans, seas, rivers and so on. In this picture, this is also a cave, but this is inside the cave. And you are going to see that why did we concentrate in these words? Why did we talk about these places? ليش حكينا عن هاي الأماكن وليش ركزنا? Because in our personal recount you are going to see that, or you are going to read about you are going to read about these places. يعني رح تقرأ عن هاي الأماكن because Susan went through these places. لأنه سوزان أصلا راحت من خلال هاي الأماكن أو زارت هاي الأماكن. This is another picture for a cave from inside. Okay. What do we call this? This is a raven. Raven اللي قلنا إحنا اللي هو الوادي. We can call it also valley. Okay. But there's a difference between raven and valley. هلا عادة الريفن يا مس بيكون it's very narrow بيكون ضيق جدا ضيق. اوكي. مثل هاد الفالي اللي هو الوادي الواسع العميق اللي بيكون تحت الجبل وبيكون واسع جدا وفيه سهول والى اخره. This valley sometimes when it rains too heavily لما تكون عم بتشتي كتير ممكن يتكون عنا river inside this raven. Okay. This is another picture for the raven as you can see. Okay, this is a mountain, but why did I put this picture? Because I want to show you this. This is what we call it what? Peak. What do you mean by peak? اللي هي top of the mountain. Top of the mountain اللي هي قمة الجبل، اللي هي سفح الجبل أو رأس الجبل، القمة الجبلية اللي فوق هي أعلى نقطة بتكون بالجبل. As you can see here, this is also what we call it a peak. Okay. Now let's define or what is going on. Why do we use personal recount? How do we use it? What kind of things do we use inside the personal recount? A personal recount uses يعني بيستخدم the first person. الفيرست بيرسون اللي هو طبعا ايش؟ اللي هو الشخص. انا بحكي عن الفيرست بيرسون يعني اللي هو انا، زي لما احكي Susan is the writer and she uses I. الفيرست بيرسون اللي هو I. Use the first person I because you are going to talk about yourself. إذا personal recount, as I told you, when you tell something or write something that happened with you. You are the narrator, you are the writer. انت الراوي والكاتب and everything. Okay, like for example when she said in the story, I thought it was fantastic but it was a bit scary too. الآي هون بتعود على مين؟ على Susan. Susan is the writer and she uses I. She said, I thought it was fantastic but it was a bit scary. This sentence was taken from where? From the story or from the personal recount. يعني هاي الجملة مأخوذة من الستوري أو personal recount اللي سوزان رح تحكي لنا إياه. But when she uses when, لما بتستخدم لنا when أو بتستخدم البروناون we, I'm sorry, when she uses we, لما بتستخدم البروناون we, she tells us what she did with Fred, mom and dad. إذا دايما الفيرست person اللي هو مين؟ الpersonal pronouns if you remember, okay? Like I, we, okay? we يعني بمعنى نحن و I أنا, okay? هدول الاثنين بنسميهم personal or the first person. We are talking about the first person. Like she said here, while we were walking, we heard a distant roar. We heard a distant roar. Okay. She tells us also about what happened in order. كيف يعني بقول لك in order؟ يعني بالترتيب. in order يعني بالترتيب. إذا events بتكون مرتبة in order first, second, third, okay? Like here, first we followed a narrow path through a meadow. Second, we went to that place. So هون events بتكون مرتبة in order بالترتيب, one followed by another. A personal recount does not usually contain direct speech. In Susan's recount, she tells us what happened, what she did, what she thought. إذا عادة ما بيكون بالpersonal recount زي لما أحكي she said, mom says, dad said, زي هاي الأمور اللي هو بنسميه direct speech واللي عادة بيجي بين quotation ما في داعي لاستخدامه. وهي رح تحكي لنا بالpersonal recount what happened, شو اللي صار, what she did, شو عملت, what she thought, شو اعتقدت. She begins with a short paragraph. She tells us where she was, why she was there, and who was there with her. هلا she begins or starts with a short paragraph. إذا هي بتبلش بإيش؟ بshort paragraph وبتحكي لنا she tells us where she was, وين كانت, why she was there وليش كانت هناك, and who was with her, مين كان معاها. So in personal recount, as a writer, I need to talk about what happened with me, where did I go, why did I do this, what happened with me, okay, where I was, why I was there, ليش كنت هناك, ليش هذا كله حكت لنا إياه where in the first paragraph. كانت حكيت لنا إياه بالfirst paragraph واللي إحنا بنسميها introduction يعني مقدمة. زي لما تحكي هون my dad used to live in Switzerland and he worked as a mountain guide. This summer dad wanted to visit Switzerland again. In July, I traveled to the mountains with mom, dad, and my twin brother. So this is the introduction of the personal recount that we are going to read about today. أول شيء هذا طبعا هي introduction. But first, before we start explaining the lesson and classifying sentences, finding out parts of speech like adjectives, nouns, pronouns, adverbs, and so on, let us hear and listen to the personal recount or this adventure, Susan's adventure, by the native speakers اللي هم متحدثو اللغة الأم. So please open your student's book or your pupil's book on Unit 2 in the mountains, and our lesson title for today is Dad's Favorite Walk. My homework for you is what's the meaning of walk. بدي معنى walk هون Okay, my dad or dad's favorite walk. This is homework for all of you. هذا الواجب عليه بونص زائد علامتين للي بطلع لي معنى كلمة walk here in the context، معناها من خلال السياق، وبتبعت لي الانجليش definitions plus Arabic definitions، يعني بدي معناها بالانجليزي ومعناها بالعربي. هذا homework لإلكم. تمام يا حلوين؟ انه نعرف معنى كلمة walk here، ونعرف ال parts of speech لإلها، يعني هي شو noun verb adjective adverb ايش هي بالضبط، ونعرف كمان شو معناها in the context من خلال السياق، شو معناها من خلال السياق. So now let's listen to the lesson again from the native speaker. Then we are going to read it together. I'm going to read it for all of you. بعدين رح أقرأ لكم إياه ورح نقرأ ورح نعمل reading test and so on. So please be attention with me now.
Page 30, Unit 2. Pupils Book, page 30, Unit 2. In the Mountains.
Walk. Dad's favourite walk. My dad used to live in Switzerland and he worked as a mountain guide. This summer, Dad wanted to visit Switzerland again. In July, I travelled to the mountains with Mum, Dad, and my twin brother, Fred. We stayed in a hotel in a little village and we had a great time. One day, Dad took us on his favourite walk. First, we followed a narrow path through a meadow. There were lots of flowers and there were goats with bells round their necks. They tinkled when the goats moved. After that, the path went through a forest. It was shady and quiet. It reminded me of Red Riding Hood, but I didn't see a wolf. After the forest, the path climbed steeply towards the mountain peaks. It led between huge rocks, and then the walk became a real adventure. Dad had some surprises for us. We walked into a deep, narrow ravine. We could hear the river splashing over the rocks at the bottom. While we were walking, we heard a distant roar. Gradually, it got louder. We walked round a massive boulder, and there was the most amazing sight. Water was falling straight down the mountain and crashing onto the rocks below us. The sound was incredible. A waterfall really does roar. It sounded like an angry beast. We couldn't hear each other at all. Dad beckoned to us and we followed him. The path led behind the waterfall. It was amazing. On the left of the path was the mountainside and on the right was falling water. I thought it was fantastic, but it was a bit scary too. It was quite dark and very noisy. The path came out from behind the waterfall, but round the corner it stopped at the edge of a high cliff. There was a short wooden bridge with rope at the sides, and it was swinging in the breeze. It looked terrifying, but Dad knew it was safe. Anyway, it was the only way to cross the ravine. The bridge swung even more when we walked on it. We walked slowly to keep steady. Fred and I thought it was fun, but Dad had to help Mum. She's frightened of high places. She walked with her eyes shut. We sat on the rocks and ate our lunch. Then we set off again. We climbed higher and higher. After an hour, our legs were aching, but at last we came to the best place on the whole mountain. It was a huge glacier, and it looked like a frozen river of ice. There were lots of other people there too. There was a cave in the ice. There were rooms in the cave and ice furniture. Fred sat on the ice chair and played the ice piano. It was funny. The last surprise of all was a ride down to the hotel on the little mountain train. We were exhausted, but it was a brilliant walk.
Okay, so this is the audio for our lesson for today. Dad's favorite walk. So please listen to it more than once. اسمعوا له أكتر من مرة. I know it might be so difficult for all of you to understand the whole words. بعرف إنه رح يكون صعب عليكم إنه أنتوا تفهموا, especially this is not American, this is a British accent. This is our this is the good for me. This is what I believe in, British accent, and I like a British accent that much, so I hope that you are going to like it too. This is enough for today. هذا بكفي لليوم, but please معلش حتى لو حسيتوه صعبة, listen for this audio or listen for this record more than once. اسمعوا أكتر من مرة هذا التسجيل, يعني مرة مرتين ثلاثة. Slowly you will get the words. It's same words but the different in accent, يعني بس اللكنة هي اللي بتكون مختلفة, only the accent. Okay, so dears, please don't forget, ما ننسى إنه إحنا نكتب الفوكابس اللي طلبتها منكم at the beginning, اللي هي ال places that Susan visited, الأماكن اللي زارتها سوزان. وما ننسى نكتب الترجمة اللي أنا ترجمتها, what do you mean by personal recount in Arabic, وهاي القصص writers, first person, and so on. Okay, thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and press the bell button in order to get everything new. ما ننسى نعمل لايك وشير وسبسكرايب للchannel. Thank you so much, dears. See you inshallah in next video. Take care until that time. Take care of yourselves. Bye bye.